Okay, let's go ahead and get started. And so people will be coming, trickling in here as we get started. It's noon, and so with that, just some quick housekeeping rules is just know that you won't be able to uh, chat amongst yourselves, but you could definitely ask questions in the Q&A feature by using the Q&A feature. So you should be able, if you do have any questions throughout the program, definitely feel free to ask questions in the Q&A. We have Molly and Taylor Love with us today. They'll be able to answer some just general questions, and I'll also have a spot where we'll pause and to answer any just questions that you guys may have and I'll answer those questions live. And so welcome again to this year's undergraduate admissions volunteer update. I firmly believe that everyone who is on this webinar can impact the life of many students. And so that is what Simon Sinek calls the why of our job. We are here to impact the lives of students, and we believe that Texas Tech University has the tools and resources to really make their possible. I am personally here because I once met a tech alumni who sold me on tech. Whenever I was in high school, I was still trying to decide where I was going to go. And then one day at work, I stopped a guy who was wearing a double T on his shirt. I told him I wasn't sure about it just yet. I had been admitted, but I still wasn't sure. And he stopped what he was doing. And for the next 10 minutes, he told me how incredible Texas Tech was. I had never met anyone more passionate about a university or a school. He said, I love Texas Tech so much that I have a double T tattooed on my leg. And then fast forward 15 years, and now I'm the guy with the double T tattooed on my leg. And so you choosing to be here means a lot to me and to the university, and I can't thank you enough for that. So over the next couple of slides, we'll be discussing the following items. We'll talk about some introductions of who we are and what we do. We'll review the role of the volunteer recruiter. We'll talk about the events that we have for you to volunteer at. We'll review some expectations, and then after that, we'll talk about the admissions updates that you need to know as a volunteer recruiter. And lastly, we'll wrap up with what will the actual process for signing up for volunteers, to sign up to volunteer look like. So start off with, my name is Eddie Canales, and I serve as the chair for the volunteer committee for undergraduate admissions. I also serve as the Houston regional manager for Texas Tech. Next to me, we have Molly. Molly currently serves as one of our co-chairs for the committee, along with also serving as a Houston regional admissions counselor. And Molly will also be traveling to Illinois both in the spring and fall this year. Taylor Love also serves as one of our co-chairs, along with serving as our visitor center manager. So if you have any students that are visiting campus, she is your main contact. Next to Taylor, we have Kelsey Smith, who serves as one of our admissions counselors in the DFW area. And so Kelsey will also be traveling to Florida for recruitment as well. And last but not least, April Hollingsworth is on the committee as well, but she actually serves as the West Texas regional manager. And together we make up the volunteer committee for undergraduate admissions. And our purpose is to help coordinate those volunteer opportunities that we'll be having this year. And so at a very high level, these are some of the roles of the volunteer recruiter. First of all, we need you to stay informed with our updated admissions information. Our things change every year, and this year is definitely no exception. So we'll talk more about that admissions process in the coming slides. We also want to encourage you to stay active and participate in recruitment events like the ones we'll discuss later in the presentation. And then we also have really high expectations at Texas Tech, and we want to make sure that we're always setting the standard whenever it comes to recruiting our students. Please let us know if there's anything we could do better. I personally would appreciate any and all feedback from you all. And last but not least, one of the best ways anyone on this call can help us recruit students is by referring students to us. You see students that we don't see. You're in places that we are not in. And so we need you to refer students to us. I'm going to challenge everyone on this call to to refer at least 5 students to us this year. And so the process for referring a student is simple. Please go to this link, input in student's information, and we'll take it from there. We'll make sure that someone from our team reaches out to that student with a phone call and a handwritten letter from their respective admissions counselor. Again, this is by far one of the best ways to help out our recruitment. I can't ask you enough to refer students to us. 2 quick ways that I'm measuring success, the success of this committee is: 1, did we increase the number of places where you all can volunteer? Then 2, did we increase the number of referrals that we received from you all? And so, but this isn't the only place, this isn't the only thing for volunteer recruiters. And so we're definitely going to talk more about that here. And so the following places is where we really need help. And so the first place that I want to talk about is the college fair. This is where we will need the most volunteers this year. Now more than ever, schools are so anxious to speak to someone about their school of their dreams. We already have a long list of college fairs which we'll need help with. This list is fluid, and we'll be adding more fairs as we get them throughout the year. So I'm not sure when the last time you went to a college fair is, but not much has changed since then. Most college fairs last around 2 hours or so. You'll typically be paired up with an admissions counselor, and then you'll talk to students as they come up to your table. Now, most conversations in a college fair could be anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes long, depending on the fair. Let me be transparent. Some college fairs are duds, meaning there will be times where we only speak to about 30 students or so, or that it may be extremely slow. Please know that I value your time. And one of my biggest fears in asking for volunteers is wasting your time. And so, but in admissions, we are in the mindset that every student counts, and we hope that you partner with us and believe in that as well. So it could be your story that you talk to that out of 1 out of 10 students that you spoke with, and that could be the reason why they end up coming to tech. And so please, please, please definitely stay in that mindset that every student counts for us. And so now other fairs may require you to speak to over 200 students in one night. Those are some of your big fairs, like here in the Houston area or up in the Dallas area, where you may have a long line that wraps around and you're constantly saying the same thing over and over again. It'll just depend. Now, if you volunteer at a college fair with us, please be prepared for the following. We want you to know the basics of undergraduate admissions. Again, we'll cover that in the coming slides, but I want everyone here to have a 30-second Texas Tech spiel. Everybody's spiel in admissions is just a little bit different, but here's a quick example of what I typically say at a college fair when a student comes up to me. They'll say, hey, tell me more about Texas Tech. And I'm like, okay, here we go. So at Texas Tech, we have 150 different majors and minors. We were the first school in Texas to have a medical school, law school, undergrad, and a grad school on the same campus. And we have the largest contiguous campus in the country that includes a lazy river. So that's a quick example of a quick 30-second spiel. For you, it could be different. You don't have to go by this by any means. But definitely, I would recommend that you have something that's your go-to Texas Tech spiel. Why would you recommend somebody to go to Texas Tech? Why should somebody go to Texas Tech? In your own words, and definitely have that ready to go. I would encourage you to practice that and start practicing that now, because as soon as we get into these college fairs, we'll definitely have a lot of these conversations moving forward. Whenever I say know a little bit about the big majors, I mean, take the time to do some research and learn more about our programs. So you all know that stories sell and grab the attention of students and families. And so maybe you majored in business, or now, maybe you majored in business or engineering, and now you have this really cool role in your organization. Or maybe your daughter is now at KPMG in downtown and is a manager at this firm. I know you have something about a specific program. So I definitely would recommend having examples or looking up examples of people who are succeeding because they majored in certain programs. So have a quick story of something cool they did while they were in the program. For example, in civil engineering, students made a canoe made of concrete and it floated and then erased it. And so having those types of anecdotes and those types of analogies and stories could definitely help with the student relating to Texas Tech. Now, you may not know everything, but I promise you again, you know someone or something. Then also, please, like, don't worry about knowing everything, but we will also be sending out a PDF with quick facts about each college. But I definitely want you to do your research on the programs that we have to offer. And then lastly, I want you to create a connection with them. And so find something about the student or the family that you can relate with. And so it could be as simple as they have Jordans and you like Jordans, or it could be as simple as they have a great uncle named Mike and you have a great uncle named Mike, or something. It could be anything, but I definitely want you to find a connection. At the end of the day, the biggest draw for students, or the best way that we work or that we get students to go to Texas Tech, is because they were able to find a connection with that admissions counselor or that alumni volunteer or that parent volunteer that helped them really, that connection really drove and started that relationship with them, seeing that Texas Tech is definitely possible. So with that, I'm going to pause here to see if there's any questions about the college fair in general. And again, we'll talk more about the process and some of the expectations here in the coming slides, but I definitely want to pause here to see if there's any questions that you guys may have about just the college fair in general. Again, you guys should be able to ask questions via the Q&A. So am I going to email the slides after this presentation? Yes. And so there will be a recording I'm recording this presentation as we speak. And so I'll, in the follow-up email, hopefully by Friday afternoon, you will have the slides along with this recording as well. So yes. Other questions? It's a great question. So for those who live outside of Texas, are there virtual events that we could participate in? So know that we have a recruiter in Colorado and a recruiter in California as well. But the hope is that we could definitely have more events show up. And so I'll talk more about this here in a bit, but if you do know of an event that that has come up in your area and you would like to have somebody from Texas Tech represented, please send me that information. And we'll definitely work with either one, creating a space where we could go, or two, we may ask you to attend for us and we'll send you information and brochures so that way you could attend as well. So, but we'll still work through that for sure. But yes, hopefully we'll have more. I'm sorry, no, I wish. So transportation, hotel expenses, well, no, we can't pay for that. I'm totally sorry. I wish I could, but no, we honestly can't. And so when students are referred to the website, yes, so they are contacted by undergraduate admissions. So we serve as the direct contact to the university. Then from there, if we need to connect them with a specific college or their college recruiter for that area, we'll definitely get them connected. But we will start off by reaching out first and then seeing what some of those needs are. Great questions. Any other questions before? Thank you so much for asking those questions. You all should have received the volunteer guide in the confirmation email that I sent. So definitely look through that. There's some do's and don'ts for college fairs. For example, a do is making sure that you show up to a college fair like about 30 minutes before. A don't, maybe like we can't steal people from other colleges or their tables, or depending on the fair, sometimes we can't be in front of a table, and so trying to like poach other students to come to our table. And so definitely look through the volunteer guide on those do's and don'ts, and that can answer a lot of your questions as well. So moving on, another event that we have opportunities for you all to volunteer at is going to be the Scholars Reception. So these events are hosted in a hotel as a conference style type of event. And so here students will hear from the Honors College, and they'll also have opportunities to attend other college specific sessions. And so for you all, this is an opportunity for you to speak to some of our higher achieving students. And so our Scholars Reception is typically, we'll send out an invite to students who we believe are high achieving. And so, and then these are students who have really high GPAs, have really high test scores, have just really good grades in general. And so, but we will be hosting a scholarship reception at basically every major city in Texas. And then I think we have a scholarship reception out in Albuquerque as well. But the biggest need definitely is there, where to work as like to help out with crowd control, but more importantly, it's networking. This is really the opportunity where you can really have these deep conversations with these students. And so typically mom and dad show up, and so you can definitely connect with the parents as well to talk to them about what it was like for you at Texas Tech. What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? But this is definitely an opportunity to have those conversations. Now, on average, for these scholars receptions, we probably won't need more than 4 volunteers for that. These tend to be a little bit smaller. Sometimes we'll have about 200 to 300 students. And so, but that's the biggest, again, like I said, the biggest need is definitely going to be just interacting with families and really networking. Now, a similar event is our Raider Roadshow. And so the difference between the Raider Roadshow and Scholars Reception is that the Raider Roadshow happens in the spring, and they're actually a lot bigger than the Scholars Reception. And so on average, you can see about 1,000 people or so, depending on the event. DFW definitely always typically has the biggest Raider Roadshow, followed by Houston, Austin, and things like that. And so, but again, it's very similar. Your role would be very, very similar to that scholarship reception, where we need you to really interact with these students, see if they need any help with anything, see if they need to get in contact with housing or whoever may be. Typically at these road shows, we'll bring in a lot of Texas Tech, so housing, the rec center, things like that. And so that way you can connect those students with them. We'll have a big resource fair where a lot of people will hang out there, and that's definitely your opportunity just to be able, again, to network. Again, this is your time to shine, and your story could be the reason why they choose Texas Tech while you're interacting with them. So this is definitely Roadshow and the Scholars Reception, a little bit slower than the college fairs, but we definitely have a big need here, and we would appreciate some volunteers there. With that, I'm gonna pause just really quick to see if you guys have questions between these two events. Okay, no questions. So if you do have questions, definitely please let us know and then put them in the Q&A, and then we'll continue. So expectations, this is just a very basic expectations as a volunteer is just for college fairs, we require our admissions counselors to be there at least 30 minutes before the program starts. And so we're going to ask that of you that as well. And the reason for that is because sometimes parking can be a little hectic. Sometimes they'll also provide us food. And so they'll have a hospitality room where you'll have time to eat. Sometimes there's a lot of, just the extra time just gives you plenty of time to get settled in, get to know your admissions counselor before we get started, review any questions that you may have before the event starts. And so try to arrive about 30 minutes before. Dress, this is for both the scholars reception and the college fairs. We're going to ask you that you dress in business casual. And so we'll define business casual as slacks or skirts of appropriate length. Comfortable shoes, no sneakers, no sandals. If you can, try wear like a Texas Tech polo, not completely necessary, but at least a polo or a button-down shirt. So those are a couple, just some quick expectations about for volunteering for these couple of events that we have. And so definitely, again, just do your homework before you come, like review the admissions process, review some of those big questions or big majors like engineering, business, kinesiology, animal science, those things. And so, so those are some of the quick expectations about that. Looks like we have a couple of questions. So yes, we're actually going to, so we do have a list of all these events, and we'll start talking about those here in a little bit. And then there's a scholars reception in another state. Right now, the only other state that we have is New Mexico. And so, but we'll talk about the whole process here in the next couple of slides. So first, I want to get into the admissions process, then we'll finish up with what the actual sign-up process for volunteering is like. And so just really quick for the admissions process, the big things that you need to know are a question that you're always going to get at a college fair or even at maybe a scholars or a roadshow is, what do I need to do to get in? Okay. And so typically you'll have a view book at most events. And so you'll open it up to page 12 and you'll walk them through this kind of section right here, where the answer is at Texas Tech, we have two types of admissions. We have assured admissions and then application through review. Then you really walk them through what that means. And so for Texas Tech, assured admissions, this is strictly based on class rank and test score. So if they meet these criteria, they're automatically accepted into Texas Tech University. And so this is our current most up-to-date criteria for assured admissions. Now, the question that that may come up as well is what happens if their school does not rank? So the answer for us is that Texas Tech will assign you a class rank, okay? And then another question that you will get is what happens if I don't take either test? Like, so right here, we're requiring a test score, right? And so students at Texas Tech this year will have the option to go test optional. And so what that means is if they don't take this test, then know that their application will be reviewed holistically. Another question that you may get also is, what about, do you guys super score? And so the very basic level is, what does super score mean? It means that we're going to take the highest test score from whatever test that they take. So for example, if somebody took the SAT multiple times, right? Well, then we'll take the highest math and the highest their highest score from their math and their highest score from their reading and combine that, and that's going to be their new test score. And so that's what super scoring means. And so just have an idea of what these are some of the questions to anticipate whenever it comes to assured admissions. Another thing that you have to know is that some academic colleges and departments will only accept students who meet the assured admissions requirements. So here's an example of some of the colleges that will require students to meet assured admissions. And then, but if a student does not meet assured admissions, then they could still be accepted into Texas Tech, but they'll probably start like an explore program. So for example, if a student wants to be in engineering, but did not meet the assured admissions criteria, and then they would go into review. And then if they get admitted, then they will go into start off an explore program, and then they'll transition into the College of Engineering later on. That's that following semester. Same goes for business and some of the other colleges as well. But again, the biggest thing I want you to know is we don't admit based on major. So a student can still be admitted into Texas Tech, but probably not their college of their choice, just based on their academics. Now, if a student does not meet assured admissions, or if a student decides to go test optional, then know that their application is going to be reviewed holistically. And so what does that mean? It means that we're going to look at everything that they've ever done since freshman year all the way to their senior year. This is where we'll look at extracurricular activities, leadership, class rigor, essays, and letters of recommendation. And so here's another place where you can help out. And so I would encourage you to please consider writing letters of recommendation for students that you may know who may be interested in attending Texas Tech. I would say there's a little bit more weight now if that's going test optional on these essays and letters of recommendation, just because we're trying to see the whole student. And again, this is a holistic review for anybody who does not meet assured admissions or who decides to go test option. Let's see. Now, transfer students. Now, traditionally, we'll probably be working with a lot of incoming freshmen, but we will meet transfer students just throughout our year. And as you're volunteering, you're probably going to meet some transfer students as well. So for transfer students, this is pretty simple. If they meet the criteria, then they're automatically accepted. So for example, if a student has 12 hours and a 2.5 GPA, then they're automatically accepted. If they have more than 24 hours, then they have a 2.25 GPA. Again, they're automatically accepted. Same thing goes for transfer students. So transfer students, there are some specific requirements by program for students who are transferring. And so a question you may get again is, what happens if they don't meet these requirements? And so again, they can still be admitted into Texas Tech, but they'll work with their advisor to transition into that specific program after they meet those requirements. So this is just a small example of some of the requirements for transfer students. For transfer students, there's a couple more colleges that are listed, and we'll put that in the follow-up email as well. So let's say a student applied to Texas Tech and they did not meet assured admissions. And then after a holistic review, they still got denied. Well, we actually have some alternative programs for those students. And so we want to give every student a shot at coming to Texas Tech. And so one of the first things that they can do is they can get reevaluated. And so what does that mean? It means that a student could submit either new test scores. They could do really well this fall semester of their senior year, and then turn in their grades at the end of the semester. And so then we, in the spring semester, will do a reevaluation of those students, and then they could potentially get admitted. Now, let's say if a student doesn't want to get reevaluated or still did not meet the criteria or did not get in through the reevaluation process, we have two really cool programs that we have for those students. And so a really cool program that we have is called the Summer Gateway Program. And the very basic level is the student gets denied, and then they will, as long as they take 6 hours of transferable credit and they earn a 2.5 GPA, and then they could start at Texas Tech in the fall. And so we prefer those 6 hours to be earned in that first semester, but it can be done at any local community college. So if a student comes up to you and says, hey, I got denied, you should definitely push the Summer Gateway Program, okay? It's a really cool way, or another way for a student to get to Texas Tech in the fall. And so as long as they have that 2.5 GPA in the 6 hours, then they could start at Texas Tech. Then another program that we have is called the TTAP program. And so it's similar to the Summer Gateway Program. The biggest difference is that these students will take those 12 hours at Texas Tech from South Plains there in Lubbock, okay? And sometimes those professors will actually teach those classes on the Texas Tech campus. And so they'll get 12 hours from South Plains, an hour from Texas Tech, and if they maintain a 2.5 GPA, then they'll transition to Texas Tech full-time after their first semester. And so I'm gonna ask the chatters to put those links for the for those alternative admissions. And so those links are on there so you can get more details about that. Denise, you asked a great question. How many students go through the discovery phase? I actually am not 100% sure on that, but I can definitely get that answer for you. So she was asking how many students go through the explore or discovery phase before they actually get into the majors. And so it's a great question that I don't have the exact answer for it. But yeah. So just know that we're reviewing more and more students now than ever, especially with us going test optional now. Now the applications, the only way students can apply to Texas Tech are these three ways. So either of these three ways. So if they choose to use the Apply Texas application, they'll go to www.goapplytexas.org. Something new for us this year, and that just came out this last year as well. And now we're on the Common App. And then this year, we are now part of the Coalition app as well. So students can choose one of these three applications. And then that's the only way that we'll take the application. Now, required students for freshmen, this is important, is that this is the very quick overview. So one, we're gonna need the application. Two, self-reported academic record. And this is brand new to us this year. We're still in the process, like we just started implementing this on July 1st of this summer. And so, so students will actually they will self-report their courses and grades. And so this is instead of requesting an academic transcript. But the best thing that you can do so again, students will be able to, there's going to be a link on Radar Connect, on their Radar Connect account, where they could fill out their self-reported academic record. And so the purpose for that is to help speed up the application, completing the application process. Again, this is only during the for admissions. And so we will still require the official final high school transcripts. And so if we see major discrepancies between what they reported, what they self-reported compared to what the actual final high school transcript is, then we can rescind their admissions decision. So just know that, but the biggest reason for us going through the self-reported academic record is so that we could definitely help get more students completed sooner, and that way we can get more admissions decisions to them quicker as well. We will also need an application fee or fee waiver. And then another major update for us this year is that we're going to continue to stay test optional, meaning that students will have the option to either submit the SAT or the ACT. It's not a requirement for us again this year. And so once we receive the top 3 items, if they chose to go test optional, then typically it takes about 2 to 4 weeks for them to get an admissions decision. And so I'm going to pause here for any questions about admissions. I know this is a very broad overview. Again, the guide has a lot of that information as well, but I'm going to see if there's any questions regarding admissions. So things that you need to know: required documents. The self-reported academic record is brand new to us this year as well. And definitely knowing the types of admissions, what assured admissions means, what the holistic review means. One thing that you do not see on this slide is essays and letters of recommendation. So essays and letters of recommendation are optional and have been optional. But if a student decides to go test optional or does not meet assured admissions, then please, 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 please highly recommend that they do the essay and submit up to 3 letters of recommendation. Those definitely will carry a little bit more weight moving forward. It's a great question, Brian. Right now, we're taking it year by year. So Brian asked if test optional is a permanent change. And so right now it's year by year. And so, yeah, we'll see. A lot of schools are starting. I can't speak for other schools, but we're definitely seeing it more and more that a lot of more schools are going test optional moving forward. And so we pivoted early on, and we were one of the first schools to say, hey, it looks like students can't take the test because test centers were being canceled. And so, and test sites were being canceled, and we had students who kept getting rescheduled. And so that's one of the big reasons for us going test optional. And then we're realizing that definitely that grades are actually one of the higher indicators for just college success in general. And so we're definitely seeing that a little bit more now. Great question. Okay, moving on. So transfer students, just really quick, we do need the application. We need an official college transcript from every institution that they've attended. And so this is where we get some of the hiccups. Is a student may have gone to a college maybe 10 years ago and they didn't end up enrolling, but it shows on our end that they did go. And so just know that it's every institution ever attended. And so then of course the application fee or fee waiver. Now let's talk about the process for volunteering. And so moving forward, we'll start using a sign up genius link that you will get on a follow-up email. Anticipate this email coming around in Friday afternoon. Okay. In the past, it used to be each regional center would ask for 3 or 4 volunteers. We'll reach out to the alumni association, say, hey, do you have anybody that can volunteer at a Roadshow or at a college fair, things like that. And so, but now what we're trying to do is trying to centralize and really standardize the process for our volunteers. And so one of my biggest goals too is also to create more space for you guys and to have more opportunities for you to volunteer. And so with this sign up genius link, it will be that one space where we can we have the most up-to-date information of current slots that are available to see. And so the Sign Up Genius link will look something similar to this. And so know that spots will be limited, and we may not have something for everybody in your area. But again, my hope is to provide you as many opportunities as possible. One thing I've asked all of undergraduate admissions is to, if they hear of a worthy college fair that we can attend to, and we define worthy as students, a place where we could anticipate speaking to 30 or more students, then I would like to have a volunteer there if possible. Probably at a night fair. That way we can create more opportunities for you guys. Now, let's say, like the earlier question that was asked earlier, like what happens if you guys don't travel to where I am? Well, I still want to know about those college fairs or events. And so if you do hear of an event or a college fair in your area, I want to know about it. And that way we could, if we can't go cover it, then maybe I could potentially send you a couple of view books, and hopefully we can get that covered by one of you. But I can't promise you that will happen. But I definitely want to try and make sure that I do everything I can to reach as many students as possible. And this could definitely be a way. And so the other thing I want you to know is that this list is evolving as we speak, and we are adding to this list daily. And so we are working on finalizing a couple of the big college fairs that are going to happen here in September and October. But do know that things are starting to change. Early in the summer, as we were planning this, we thought we were going to be 100% all go in these big school districts, and we're expecting like these big college fairs to happen. And so just know that it is evolving, especially with this new wave of COVID and this new thing that's happening. And so but be patient with us for sure. But this link will be the most up-to-date link, and will be updated almost daily as we get opportunities for you to volunteer. And so again, we'll be sending this link out to you guys on Friday as we're trying to finalize some of the details for some college fairs that just came up. And so also know that moving forward, we'll be sending out a monthly newsletter coming from the volunteer committee. And so on there, we'll definitely post some opportunities and remind you to go back to this link to see if there's any places that you can volunteer at. And so definitely encourage you to just be on the lookout for that. And so if you don't get something every month, just email me and say, hey, to get that newsletter. Again, just keeping me accountable as well on that. One thing I am going to ask as you start signing up for these events is please try to sign up for at least a week in advance. So that way it gives us, the admissions team, plenty of notice, just in case no one signs up. We can fill in that space in case it is a big college fair where we would like to have 2 people at or things like that. And then lastly, this is an extremely important thing, is definitely know that since we're putting all of our events into this link, know that there may be events there for Austin, Houston, Lubbock, the Dallas area, maybe Colorado, maybe Illinois as well. And so just make sure to double check the location before you hit sign up, okay? And so let me see if there's any questions. Let's see, classes taken through local school districts. So that's a great question, Elizabeth. For just going back to the Summer Gateway program, know that those students who are doing Summer Gateway, it's going to be classes taken after graduation, okay? And so they have to graduate and take those 2 classes at a local community college, and that's how we're going to count them as Summer Gateway. We won't take dual credit for Summer Gateway. So moving on as well, going back to the process itself. And so after you've signed up, you'll get a confirmation email from the admissions counselor that you're going to be partnering up with. And so in that confirmation email, you'll get it a week before, and I'm going to ask that they also send you a confirmation email the day before as well. And so the confirmation email should always include the following: the name of the event, the admissions counselor that you're helping, the admissions counselor contact information, directions to the event? Will there be hospitality? Or is there any extra information that you need to know about the event, the type of audience or types of students that you may be speaking to? Is it going to be a lot more juniors instead of seniors? Is it going to be a lot more transfer students, things like that? And so just know that I've requested that from every admissions counselor to send that to you guys at least a week and a day before the event. And we will have, or the committee will be constantly monitoring that sign up genius to see if somebody signs up for an event, that will trigger us to send you that email and make sure that you get that information. If for some reason you don't get an email, I need you to reach out to me directly, and I will make sure that that gets done. Let's see. I'm going to pause here just really quick for questions about the process. Again, sign up Genius link. You'll get that link on Friday with the follow-up email. They'll include a PDF of facts and again, a place where you'll see this recording. But does anybody have any questions about the process itself? So a couple of last things that I want to talk about just really quick is just know that we have our Texas Tech preview on Monday, October 11th. And so just that's coming up. And so if you can, as you're talking to students, just from now on, try to push them to Texas Tech preview. It's our big open house. Taylor Love is really in charge of it. She's currently leading the charge of that. And so, but just push them to Texas Tech preview. This is where we try to roll out the red carpet for all these students, where we hopefully they fall in love with Texas Tech. And so there'll be a lot of sessions. They'll be able to interact with colleges. They'll be able to do a lot of tours and things like that. And then last but not least is definitely push them to campus. We firmly believe and have seen that the students who visit campus have a higher chance of coming to Texas Tech. And so I could talk about how incredible and large and the lazy river is, but until they visit campus, then they really won't be able to see what Texas Tech beauty is all about, and they won't understand who Will Rogers is and the victory bells and things like that. And so we definitely want to encourage everyone to push campus visits as much as possible. And so because again, we've seen it that a student who comes to Texas Tech, they have a higher chance of coming to campus later on as well. That's a great question, Jennifer. You're right. I apologize for not putting that up there, but you are right. We do have, I don't know if y'all, I'm sure y'all have heard, but our vet school, we actually they started class very recently. And so we have an incredible vet school, and that's definitely a highlight. That's definitely something that should be in your 30-second Texas Tech spiel, meaning hey, we're now the second vet school in the state of Texas, right? And so that's definitely something that we need to push overall. And it's a big draw to Texas Tech. We're starting to see it. We've started to see it early on as well, because we knew the vet school was coming. And so I'm from Houston. I've personally seen a lot more students wanting to study animal science, and with us having the vet school, it's definitely a big draw for our students as well. And especially, again, I'm talking about Houston just because I live here, but the Houston Rodeo and things like that, we have a big presence there as well. So it's a great question. Great question. So, dress for Raider Roadshow, yes, business casual. We're gonna try to stay business casual for the most part. So again, slacks, tech polo if possible, button down, some things like that. Before I say thank you, I definitely again want to open it up for I can't thank you enough for your time now, and I can't thank you enough for your time in the future that we're gonna be using. And so I do appreciate you ahead of time. Again, I want to reiterate that the reason why I came to Tech is because someone like you was really passionate about Texas Tech, and they changed my life. I'm a first generation college student that never imagined going away to Lubbock, and now I have the coolest job in the whole wide world. And so I definitely want to thank you for your time, for today and again for the future. I'm an email away from you, and so just shoot me an email if you have any questions. We'll definitely provide the contact information for the rest of the volunteer committee in that follow-up email. But I personally want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart for your time. Time is something I can't give you back, and again, I appreciate it so much. I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions, any last minute questions that you guys may have about anything related to Texas Tech or the volunteer opportunities that we have for you. Any questions? So James asked if most of the big events are in October. And so our scholars receptions will start late September and go all the way through November. Our big college fairs will start as early as mid-September and again, continue on through mid-November. And so our fall is by far it's extremely busy. And now that we're going into full-time recruitment again, like we've had in the past. And so, yeah, there's going to be some days where we'll have 3 college fairs a day, every day for a region. And so, but yeah, that I would say those are most of our recruitment events will definitely happen in the fall. Our big events in the spring are definitely our Raider Roadshows for sure. Brian, I don't have any opportunities in Oklahoma just yet, but if you hear something or if I hear something, we'll definitely let you know for sure. Other questions? Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. Again, this was recorded. I will be sending this out very soon. And if you all need anything from us, please let us know. And again, thank you in advance for your time. We appreciate you. Thank you. Maria, so quick shout out to Maria, who is actually down in really far away down in the Pacific. And so I can get you materials sent again because Maria actually had 2 students come from Pago. So that's a big shout out again to Maria. So I will work on getting materials. And so thanks again for joining us. Okay, well, with that, we appreciate you. And if y'all have any questions, definitely email me. So thanks again.